This handsome guy appears to be a kind prosecutor, but no one would have guessed that he was actually a cold-blooded serial killer. He was as cruel as Satan. The one caused deaths wherever he went. The human Satan was Jang Hyung-min. 13 years ago, he satisfied his hunger by taking his girlfriend to a field. They didn't kiss as expected, however. He swung a knife at her, and he stopped her breath. Two female students witnessed everything. They were too shocked by what they saw. Suddenly, Yeo-woo's phone rang. Hyung-min heard and discovered her. Just a few seconds later, he found Yeo-woo. The other student could escape. What happened next was even more terrifying, as Yeo-woo witnessed everything. He made her ended the life of his girlfriend or else she would take her life. Yeo-woo had no choice but to do as he wished. However, she stabbed him instead. If Jang Hyung-min was caught, he would blame it on her. Early in the morning, the police arrived at the crime scene. The victim was a female high school student. She lost his life on the way back home. There was no evidences or witness, so the police couldn't find the culprit. At the crime scene when the night fell, Tae-suk saw a female high student. When he saw her, she ran away. She was none other than Yeo-woo. He wanted her to stop before things got worse. However, Yeo-woo got scared and jumped in the water. Tae-suk also jumped to save her. When he saved her, he found a bloody knife in her bag. Thus, he was suspicious of her. Yeo-woo cried and told him she knew who the culprit was. He would destroy her if she told the police he was the murderer. Yeo-woo told the police how the culprit murdered the victim. Tae-suk wanted her to give him a name, and he would put the criminal in jail. The police officer promised to keep her name a secret. His promise made her feel less anxious and decide to take the stand. She couldn't let him know. Thanks to his rich father, Hyung-min bribed the police. Thanks to this, he knew Yeo-woo was the witness. Tae-suk was very abashed. Yeo-woo got so scared. She believed that Tae-suk didn't keep his words. The next day, he found and beat her up. When her mother tried to save her, he stabbed the poor woman. She tried to protect her daughter until her last breath. Yeo-woo successfully escaped. However, a car hit her, and everyone thought she lost her life. The case of them was unsolved until 13 years later. Tae-suk became an outstanding police officer. He could do anything to solve the cases. Tae-suk even dared to break the rule only to catch the criminals. However, he couldn't correct his faults in the past. Tae-suk's marriage was on the rock due to his work addiction. His wife wanted to divorce him because not only did he not care about her, but also rarely came home. She no longer loved him. Jang Hyung-min wasn't be put in jail. He already became a prosecutor, yet, he was born a killer. He kidnapped a police officer's wife. Her husband reported about her missing. Tae-suk found a gun toy at the crime scene. However, the baby was less than 1 year old. That must have been a kid's toy. Soon later, he found whose it was. Before the wife was kidnapped, the boy's parents asked her to help them babysit him. Tae-suk questioned the little boy. He said someone threatened and kidnapped her. Jang Hyung-min appeared at that time. The little boy told Tae-suk that it was Hyung-min who threatened the victim. To protect the boy from the criminal, Tae-suk quickly changed the topic. However, Hyung-min became the first suspect, digging deeper into the case. Tae-suk followed after Hyung-min. Hyung-min was clever enough to cut him off. After kidnapping the victim, Hyung-min savagely took her life. But first, he pulled her teeth out. The victim hopelessly screamed, while he laughed out loud. When the police dug into Jang Hyung-min, they didn't expect that a prosecutor was a serial killer. Within 10 years, he kidnapped 6 women. The police had found 4 of them so far. Their teeth were extracted and their fingers were taken off. The criminal was way too barbarous. All bodies were left on the shore. Gathering all the clues, Tae-suk believed that the culprit kept the bodies in the boat and threw them into the sea. The police officer's wife must be kept in a boat. The force wanted to ask the Coast Guard officials if Hyung-min owned a boat. Tae-suk didn't agree because the Coast Guard officials would contact at that time. Hyung-min would know they were spying on him. After torturing the victim, Jang Hyung-min locked her in a freezer. He set a temperature of -40. To save the victim as soon as possible, Tae-suk found a genius hacker. He paid the hacker, though it was a violation of investigation principles. He asked the hacker hacked the police force website for the records of the previous victims. They found the ship in a short time. When they got into the ship, the victim was frozen. That upset Tae-suk a lot. Dong-yoon wanted to call the investigation unit. Tae-suk stopped Dong-yoon or else they would slip a chance to catch Hyung-min. He made a plan to arrest the culprit. Tae-suk put on his gloves and gave Hyung-min a blow. He did it on purpose to take Hyung-min's blood. Jang Hyung-min got bitter about it, overhearing Tae-suk's team members. Hyung-min could know about their plan. Tae-suk would use his blood to fake the evidences. To save himself, he made a dash at the ship. He tried to clean the traces of blood that created by Tae-suk. Tae-suk recorded his action. The truth about Hyung-min was exposed. He tried to flee away. Hyung-min fought back because he couldn't escape from Tae-suk. However, he was no match for Tae-suk. Accidentally, Hyung-min fell of the stairs. He begged Tae-suk to save his life. Tae-suk still acted cold. He believed that it was Hyung-min who harmed Yeol. No matter how much he denied it, Tae-suk watched Hyung-min falling on the ground. It was the revenge for Yeol. Tae-suk had tried to find Jang Hyung-min for the last 13 years. Jang Hyung-min was taken to the hospital. He might be in vegetative state. The victim's husband came to the crime scene and saw her body. He cried his eyes out. If Jang Hyung-min died, those who took bribes from his father would be exposed. Thus, they found a way to shift the blame on Tae-suk. At the police station, Captain John questioned Tae-suk. He was a bad detective, 13 years ago. He took the bribes and covered up for Hyung-min. John believed that Tae-suk had a feud with the culprit, so he planned to get rid of him. Unexpectedly, Tae-suk admitted that he broke the rules to catch Jang Hyung-min. He was even willing to take responsibilities for his action, which surprised John. 13 years ago, Tae-suk went to find Jang Hyung-min. John Chunman stood in his way. He asked Tae-suk to bring the witness to the station if he wanted to catch Hyung-min. That was why Tae-suk took Yeol there. However, that was a trap for Hyung-min to find the witness. Tae-suk went home and told his wife that he might be imprisoned if Jang Hyung-min died. His wife promised to defend him. She was a good lawyer. Tae-suk was thought to be imprisoned. The next day, the Commissioner General arrived. In order to remain the privilege of the procuracy, they let the police solve the case of Jang Hyung-min. However, the police didn't arrest the culprit, neither did they carry out the investigation. Only Tae-suk continued finding the truth. If people heard about it, their reputation would be ruined, and to avoid this, they hailed Tae-suk as a hero who risked his life to catch a serial killer. Tae-suk refused the title. He just wanted to spend time with his wife, but if he didn't take it, his teammates would be punished for helping him faking the evidences. Tae-suk had no choice but to get back to it. In front of all the reporters, Tae-suk exposed Jang Hyung-min's crime. They even founded a force named SMS. They specialized in handling serial murders. The next day, they had to solve a murder. The victims were a middle-aged married couple. Their dog also lost his life. However, the force didn't find the weapon. The one who first found their bodies were their daughter. She was reporter Eun Sun-jae, who was actually Bae Yeol. When she gave the police her testimony, Tae-suk noticed her strange facial expression. She wasn't sad at all when her parents were murdered. Moreover, she was the only person staying there when the murder occurred. He believed that Sun-jae was the culprit. Sensing their doubts, Sun-jae challenged them to handcuff her. That made Tae-suk was even more suspicious of her, because he had no evidences to arrest her. Speaking of the SMS force, Tae-suk was the leader. Those who helped him fake the evidences also joined the force. The hacker was also taken to the police station for hacking the police force website. Hearing the news, Tae-suk came to help him out, as Tae-suk was the national hero. He could easily bail the hacker out. The hacker asked Tae-suk to let him join the force. Yet, Tae-suk refused. Tae-suk's wife was very angry when her husband got a promotion. Because he promised her to quit his job, she didn't let him know that he was having an affair. Instead, she confirmed that they had a divorce from then on. Perhaps she wanted to make him flustered. Tae-suk's force reckoned that the weapon was a small axe. Tae-suk thought the culprit might put the weapon in the dog's stomach, so he wanted his colleagues to perform an autopsy. However, the dog was cremated. Tae-suk went to Sun-jae's home a few days ago. He saw the jar of the dog's ash. Thus, he went straight to her home to take the jar. At that time, Sun-jae returned. He told her that he would keep the jar. She didn't let him go easily. It was more serious when she took out her knife and pointed it at Tae-suk, without scare. He poured the ash out. He was stunned by what he found. Tae-suk threatened her back. When he found the name table of Yeol, the one who witnessed Hyung-min's murder 13 years ago, he wanted to know if she was still alive, and where she was. Sun-jae said she was Yeol. Something wrong here. Back then, after she was hit by a car, Yeol was still alive and she had plastic surgery on her face. However, she didn't remember anything in her past. Tae-suk was dumbfounded. Tae-suk had questions, so that he took a strand of her hair. It was for a DNA test. Somewhere else, two police officers receive a report. When they arrived, they saw a guy sitting against the wall. He shot the officers to death. Obviously, it was a trap. Checking on the crime scene, the bullet told Tae-suk that the culprit was a soldier. He was the one who called the victims, and lured them to the tunnel. Tae-suk knew that if he didn't secure his ends yet, he would continue taking down more officers. What was the culprit's purpose? Tae-suk knew the targets were the officers, so that he suggested them to put on bulletproof vests. However, his bosses didn't agree. Thus, he used the fund to buy each of his teammate a bulletproof vest. Tae-suk got the DNA test result. Sunjae was the adopted daughter of the lost married couple. He then believed that she was Yeowol, 13 years ago. Yeowol wasn't the only witness. Tae-hee, who was Tae-suk's sister, also saw it, though she promised Yeowol to keep it a secret. Tae-hee was afraid that Hyungmin would find her, so she denounced him to the police as a witness. Yeowol was curious about her past. She asked John Chunman who killed Yeowol's mother. John said the culprit was Song Man-soo, who was in jail. Sunjae mixed poison with his food. He swooned and then be taken to the medical room. Sunjae questioned him. She told him who she was and asked him why he took her mother's life. If he didn't answer, he would die of poison within 10 minutes. Therefore, he told her the real culprit was Jang Hyungmin. She gave him antidote for telling her the truth. When a female officer was on her duty, a man passed her by and stabbed her. The detectives arrived at the crime scene. They believed the man who stabbed her was also the one who shot two officers. Before they could examine the scene, an officer was shot. Each of them was taken down. The culprit was on the rooftop. The sniper fled away when his position was spotted. He let Tae-suk saw his eyes. Tae-suk ran after him on a motorbike. They had a race on the streets. Unfortunately, a car hit Tae-suk. A dozen of officers lost their life that day. Through cartridges found at the scene, they knew it was M17 sniper rifle belonged to American Army. Tae-suk asked the hacker to access to the American military website. The hacker turned down his request at first, because he didn't want to be imprisoned. But when Tae-suk said he would let him join SMS Force, the hacker changed his mind. When they found the position, Tae-suk and his teammate went to the American Army camp. They needed a permit to get in there. Tae-suk decided to crash an army car, creating a chance for Chai Dong-yoon to steal something. Tae-suk informed the army. As a result, they were shut in the cell. They could get in the army camp without a permit. Tae-suk was released. They asked him why he crashed an armed camp. If he couldn't account for it, they would ask the government to explain. However, Tae-suk told a lie that an American soldier hit him first. The soldier didn't get what was going on. Tae-suk shifted the blame on the soldier. He acted as he was innocent so that I crashed his car. When the soldiers went out, Tae-suk stole the profile of the sniper. He was Song Woo-jin, a soldier of Delta Force Task Force who was in the Syria war. No wonder why he could hit the target with just one shot. There was an emergency contact number on the profile, which belonged to Tae-suk's wife. Tae-suk questioned his wife. Woo-jin was son of her acquaintance. He was severely abused by his aunt's husband. That's not why he slaughtered the police officers. There must have been another reason. He was Song Man-soo's son, the prisoner who was poisoned by Sunjae. Back then, John Chunman took bribes by Hyungmin's father to shift the blame on Song Man-soo for murdering Yeowol and her mother, because he kept the knife with their blood. When Woo-jin's father was put in jail, he felt heartbroken. Perhaps that was the reason why he finished off the officers to revenge for his innocent father. Speaking of Sunjae, after she knew it was Hyungmin who caused the death of her mother, she went to the hospital where he was in. She even told Tae-suk about it. He went straight to the hospital, but when he arrived, she already disappeared. At that time, Hyungmin opened his eyes. Tae-suk was flabbergasted because he watched Hyungmin's fall. Jang Hyungmin said he would send Tae-suk to hell. Sunjae threatened him with a needle. She asked him why he murdered her mother. However, he didn't remember who she was, before she told him her true name. Tae-suk took her out. Meanwhile, Woo-jin was strolling on the road. An officer saw him. He ran away. The officer lost sight of him. He dragged the officer away. The next day, they found a trace of Woo-jin. The police squad went on a sortie. They surrounded the place he was in. As long as he showed up, they would shoot him. When the police squad broke into the house, but Song Woo-jin wasn't there. They were blown up by a bomb. Woo-jin hid himself under the ground, and went live soon after that. He didn't know why the police put his father behind the bar. Despite that the culprit was Jang Hyungmin, how could they do that? He asked the authorities to release his father. Or else, he would take down more officers. This caused the high-ranking officers a headache. Choi Young-woo wanted to shoot him down. He wanted to send a gunner and shoot him in the ass. Tae-suk didn't agree, because the number of deaths would raise. The best way was to release Song Man-soo. John Chunman agreed with Tae-suk. After that, Tae-suk went to see Song Man-soo. He asked Man-soo to persuade his son to tune himself in after being freed. Man-soo turned down his request at first. Tae-suk used his weak point: if your son gets shot, you'll regret for not helping him out. Finally, he convinced Song Man-soo. In return, Man-soo asked Tae-suk to save his son's life. Next, they took Man-soo to the scene. Man-soo lost his mind when seeing John Chunman. It was John who turned him into a prisoner. Man-soo called out his son's name. Woo Jin came to see his father. They hugged each other after 13 years of being apart. Man-soo asked his son to release the hostage. He wanted him to confess it, because he already had the evidences to claim his innocence. Woo Jin didn't think the same. Suddenly, smoke bomb and stun grenade were activated. Woo Jin wanted to flee away with his father. Tae-suk caught up with them. Yet, John Chunman shot Man-soo down. Tae-suk stopped him from shooting Woo Jin. No time to mourn. Woo Jin ran for life. Tae-suk chased after him. However, he lost sight of Woo Jin. Tae-suk went mad at John Chunman, who put an innocent man in jail for 13 years. And then ended his life. He was way too inhuman. Tae-suk swore to testify that John Chunman had taken Man-soo down. Hearing that, Hyung-min woke up. The journalists surrounded his room. They asked him many questions. Hyung-min told them how Tae-suk made him fall. If Tae-suk admitted his guilt, he would also tell the truth about the case of his ex and Yeowol. Tae-suk decided to see the journalists and told them what happened to Hyung-min. The journalists insisted that Tae-suk wanted to do away with Hyung-min. To help Tae-suk out, Sunjae pretended to pick up a call and told everyone that Woo Jin was coming. They didn't buy into her. Once she insured it with her own life, all of them ran away. When Tae-suk arrived, he saw no one there. Sunjae went to see Hyung-min again. She told him who she was. Hyung-min was stunned, due to the car accident 13 years ago. She underwent a brain surgery. That was why she didn't remember why he destroyed her mother. Hyung-min took the chance and lied to her that it was Tae-suk who did it to her mother. Knowing it was just a lie, Sunjae scared him the shit out of him. He said Tae-suk was the reason why her mother lost her life. Tae-suk knew what would happen if Hyung-min heard about Yeowol. In order to protect his sister, he persuaded Yeowol to take the stand. Unexpectedly, John Chunman took Hyung-min to the police station. Thanks to this, Hyung-min knew Yeowol was the witness. That was why he took her mother's life. Tae-suk didn't tell her the whole story. Woo Jin walked on the streets with a gun in his hand. The police squad surrounded him. Woo Jin didn't run away this time. He stubbornly went straight. He wrapped bombs around his body. If they dared to shoot him, everything within a 30-mile radius would be blown away. Woo Jin had nothing to lose. The police squad had to make way for him. Woo Jin walked like he was the president. The squad surrounded him when he took the steps. Woo Jin asked them to take Chunman there. Clever Chunman was already on the lam. He cowardly hid himself at home. Tae-suk told Woo Jin that the father left it to you. They had a private talk in a truck. It was a painting of them, because Woo Jin wished to have a photo with his father. However, John took his father's life. Tae-suk apologized and persuaded him to tune himself in. It was a way to keep his life. However, he was been blinded by hatred. He beat Tae-suk up. As Woo Jin wanted the painting, Tae-suk made him take off the bomb coat or else he would burn the painting. Woo Jin refused to give himself up to the police. Tae-suk had no choice. He set up a team of snipers out there. In the end, they gave Woo-in many holes in his body. Tae-suk had no choice to do it. The police officers were happy when he was taken down. John Chunman searched through Jang Hyung-min's house. They found a box reserving the ID cards of his victims. Their blood was still on the ID cards. With those clues, they could solve many cases. After that, John went to see Hyung-min. Hyung-min said he took 32 lives, not 7 as they assumed. He even smiled with satisfaction. Jang Hyung-min threatened John. If John didn't release him, he would confess it, and revealed that John faked the evidences to shift the blame on Man-soo. John had to release him to protect himself. When the police knew, he disappeared. Dong-yoon believed that he disguised as a doctor, but he was wrong. In fact, he acted as a body. As soon as getting out, he got rid of the doctor. Then he called Tae-suk. He said he just escaped and got ready for a battle. Hyung-min went to Tae-suk's home. He stabbed Tae-suk's wife. What a frightened scene. He even called Tae-suk again to let him hear his wife's last words. When Tae-suk went home, his wife stopped breathing. He cried his eyes out. It was like a stab through his heart. He swore to arrest Jang Hyung-min at the crime scene. John found a hidden camera in a teddy bear. To cover Hyung-min up, he deleted everything. The police found the weapon after examining the scene. The police was surprised when there was no sign that Hyung-min broke the handcuff. It was someone removing the handcuff. Checking on the CCTV, they saw John coming to the hospital. Tae-suk doubted him when the hacker found the position of the ambulance that Jang Hyung-min stole. Tae-suk immediately chased after him. He tried to stop Hyung-min, however, Hyung-min was very skilled. He ran to a supermarket. Tae-suk and his teammates ran after him. Tae-suk seemed to see him in the toilet when he opened the door. Hyung-min wasn't there. Suddenly, John Chun-man put handcuffs on Tae-suk. He believed that Tae-suk took his own wife's life, because Tae-suk's fingerprint was found on the weapon. It was Chun-man who faked it. Hyung-min indeed hid himself behind a woman in the toilet. He stole her key car, and hid himself in her car. John lashed out at him. He wanted Hyung-min to run off, not to take the life of a detective's wife. Hyung-min told him not to interfere. Tae-suk would be released soon. John Chun-man asked Hyung-min to leave the country at night. John was in the interrogation room. Tae-suk didn't care. He knew John's scheme. John accused him of the murder of his wife. Tae-suk was provoked. If Dong-yoon didn't stop him, it would be the death anniversary of John next year. Tae-suk was escorted to the station. When the TV reported about Hyung-min, he was thought to cross the border. Tae-suk tried to break away from the police. He wanted to catch the serial killer. The police stopped him because they lost his trace due to their loose guard. Afraid that people would criticize the police, Choi Young-woo ordered the officers to catch him within a day. For this reason, they had to release Tae-suk. John Chun-man was burning. At the same time, Hyung-min came to a supermarket. He finished off anyone who passed him by. The exits were blocked. Hyung-min mingled with the disorderly crowd to escape from there. Tae-suk recognized him. Hyung-min attacked and stole someone's car. After that, Tae-suk followed him to a tunnel, and he kept provoking Tae-suk. If Tae-suk came home in time, his wife wouldn't lose her life. Tae-suk didn't throw a punch. It was nothing good for him when he ended Hyung-min's life. The best way was to go to hell together. After the crash, the fuel was leaking. Tae-suk threw the flame at the fuel. Jang Hyung-min couldn't get loose from the death. An earth-shaking explosion occurred. Throwing back to 13 years ago, Tae-suk took Yeol to the police station as a witness. Tae-hee also witnessed the murder. She presented herself at the police station as a witness before Hyung-min eliminated her. She decided to take the stand. When Tae-suk knew her intention, he wanted to protect her from Jang Hyung-min, so he took her home. As soon as they reached the door, John Chun-man took Hyung-min there. Tae-suk closed the door, and took Hyung-min to see Yeol. That was why Hyung-min knew Yeol denounced him. Yeol got scared and blamed Tae-suk for not keeping a secret about her identity. Because of this, Tae-suk asked his sister to move to Seoul. When Yeol knew that they were brother and sister, she got why Tae-suk let Hyung-min see her. Throwing a brick at Tae-suk's home, Yeol said if Hyung-min took her life, it would be Tae-suk's fault. As she guessed, Hyung-min came and tortured her. Her mother tried to protect her. Hyung-min stabbed her to death. She tried to hold him back, buying time for Yeol to run away. Tae-suk felt really sorry when he came to the crime scene. Yeol's mother lost her life partly because of him. When Tae-suk threw the flame at the fuel, an explosion happened. Hyung-min's death was unknown. Tae-suk was still alive. It was Sunjae who saved his life. As for her, his death would make her feel bored. She seemed to be up to something, based on the clues at the scene. The police announced the death of Hyung-min. Tae-hee paid tribute to Tae-suk's wife. They didn't say a word to each other. What happened in the past caused a distance between them. Sunjae also came to the funeral. Tae-suk didn't want her to see Tae-hee. Back then, Yeol and Tae-hee promised to keep Hyung-min's crime a secret. However, Tae-hee denounced him to the police first. Tae-suk covered Tae-hee from the sight of Yeol. Until she left, a young woman was walking home through a dark alley. Suddenly, a masked man appeared. He dragged her somewhere, after taking her life. He stole her necklace. When the police came to the scene, they saw the culprit challenge the police through the footage. Catch me if you can. The culprit was really brutal. He electrocuted her and cut her artery. The police investigated the butcher shop in the quarter. Taking the DNA test, they realized that the weapon was counterfeit. someone wanted to shift the blame on Tae-suk. It must have been John Chunman. The investigators came to see him and asked about the case of Song Man-soo. Because John shot him without permit, the culprit was thought to be a butcher. As he didn't go to school, the shop owner came on me like a ton of bricks, the butcher talked back to the owner. As a result, he lost his job. He that couldn't beat the horse beats the saddle. He aimed at another young girl. She was gone when the police arrived at the scene. Tae-suk saw a man with strange behaviors in the crowd. His intuition told him that it was the culprit. Tae-suk followed him. The butcher ran for his life. At the butcher shop, he attacked Tae-suk. Tae-suk took a chance to bite his wrist. Dong-yoon came in time to save Tae-suk's life. Tae-suk got his blood. He told Dong-yoon to take a DNA test. A few hours later, the butcher kept committing a crime. He even went live. Another girl was unlucky enough to be his bait. He didn't forget to challenge the police, after what they had experienced together. Sun-jae wanted to make friends with Tae-suk. He didn't want to upset her with what he had done to her in the past. So that he refused. At that time, someone called him, "I'm Jang Hyung-min, Dong-yoon is in my hand." It was true that Dong-yoon was given knockout drops and kidnapped. After kidnapping Dong-yoon, he went on a date with his girlfriend. He gave her a necklace, which he stole from the first victim. His girlfriend was happy because she didn't know. Dong-yoon was tied up in a dark room. The culprit used the gas torch to torture Dong-yoon. The police were trying to find him. When the culprit called the police, all the detectives felt so bad when hearing Dong-yoon scream. They knew the culprit was torturing him. Tae-suk hung up the phone. If they picked up the phone, Dong-yoon might lose his life, because the culprit wanted to see their feeling of impuissance. After the speech of John Chunman and the live stream of the culprit the other day, Tae-suk could tell that the culprit was a former police. When he put all the clues together, all the victims must have something to do with him. The hacker found out that 3 victims were taken to the police station as juvenile offenders. The police in charge was Ko Ju-sung. He was the culprit. A footage in which Ju-sung was beaten by the girls went viral on the internet recently. The police got hit by the girls. 3 of them lost their lives. It was obviously his revenge. The culprit leaked the gas and opened all the water valves in the room. Dong-yoon was still tied up. Tae-suk went to see Ju-sung's girlfriend. She said he was on a business trip. Tae-suk showed her the photos of the victims. She was stunned. And she let Tae-suk know where he was. In a short time, Tae-suk found the place. He broke the door and rescued Dong-yoon. Dong-yoon was taken to the hospital. In the meantime, another crime was done. The method of murder was the same as Jang Hyung-min's. What was going on? Speaking of the footage in which Ju-sung was beaten by 3 girls, there was another who filmed it. Her name was Jeon Ju-yeon, as expected. Ju-sung came to take her life. Ju-yeon used the pepper spray to protect herself. She asked the police for help. Ju-sung was electric shocked. Ju-yeon became his bait. Sun-jae witnessed everything. She told Tae-suk about that, receiving the report. Tae-suk tried to find the culprit. Ju-yeon was tied up. Ju-sung had a feud with her because she filmed it and defamed him, to take revenge on that girl. He went live. Before he cut her throat, Tae-suk appeared and gave him a kick. The culprit waved a knife at the hostage to threaten Tae-suk. Tae-suk challenged him to end her life. When Ju-sung was wavering, Tae-suk gave him a blow. Tae-suk knew very well that Ju-sung didn't dare to murder anyone without his mask. When he tried to attack against Tae-suk, he was electric shocked. Ju-yeon tried to run for her life. Tae-suk tied Ju-sung up and went to find her. When he came back, Ju-sung already died of a hair slide through his neck. And Sun-jae was sitting next to him. What happened? 15 minutes ago, Sun-jae arrived at the scene. Someone snatched her hair slide and stabbed through Ju-sung's neck. What a surprise! He was Jang Hyung-min. He didn't die of the explosion. He only got scratches on his body. Hyung-min waved a knife at Sun-jae. Ju-yeon was watching them when Hyung-min was about to stab Sun-jae, as Sun-jae lost her memory. She didn't remember anything in her past. That bored Hyung-min to death. Sun-jae was flabbergasted. Therefore, when Tae-suk came back, he saw Sun-jae there. As the weapon was her hair slide, she was taken to the police station. As soon as Ju-yeon got out of danger, someone drove a car and hit her. It was a man who looked quite scary. At the police station, Sun-jae claimed that the culprit was Jang Hyung-min. As Jang Hyung-min was thought to be gone, no one believed her. She asked them to find Ju-yeon, who also saw Hyung-min. The police used the police dogs to find her trace. Soon later, they found a trace of an accident. A piece of diamond was found. The police reckoned that Ju-yeon was kidnapped by diamond smugglers. Tae-suk threatened a smuggler to tell him who led the gang. The leader of the gang was Solon. John Chunman knew who he was, because he once arrested Solon, so that Tae-suk asked him for help. Chunman told Tae-suk to give him the piece of diamond. He needed something to make a deal with Solon. At that time, he would show himself. To catch Solon, Tae-suk broke into the safe at the police station and took the diamond that the police collected from Solon's gang years ago. Solon agreed to see them when they used the diamond for the exchange. The following day, he took Ju-yeon to the destination. He tried to prolong the phone call to buy more time for Tae-suk to ambush them. The gang was no match for Tae-suk. He took all of them down. Fortunately, Ju-yeon was safe. Tae-suk chased after the man who stole the diamond. However, he lost sight of the thief. She was so sure that Hyungmin stabbed Ju-sung. Thanks to her testimony, Sunjae was released. In order to thank Tae-suk for helping her out, he helped him find the smugglers. They brought along a weapon and knocked out each of the smugglers. A man with a pig slaughter attacked Tae-suk. Tae-suk gave him a nasty punch. When a man was grabbing Tae-suk by the throat, Sunjae timely rescued him. They easily blew away the gang. They got back the diamond and handcuffed all of them. Someone called Tae-suk during his dinner. It was none other than Jang Hyungmin. Tae-suk was really surprised. He didn't know where Hyungmin was. Hyungmin even claimed that Sunjae was his partner. Sunjae asked herself if she murdered Kwon Soo-ah. It was Jang Hyungmin who forced her. A wife was waiting for her husband to get home, somehow. Jang Hyungmin got in her home. He hit her head with a hammer. The following day, Tae-suk came to the crime scene. Jang Hyungmin put her body on the bed. There was a jar of sleeping pills next to the body. It was the same as the case of Sunjae's adopted parents. They found Jang Hyungmin's fingerprint at the crime scene. The culprit left a photo of a girl and the date of 3 days later at the scene. They thought she was the next target. Therefore, they needed to find her first. Sunjae had a meeting with Tae-suk. She said someone shared a location with her, due to her curiosity. She came to the address. That was why she was there before him. She believed that Jang Hyungmin sent it to her. He set up such a scene to make her regain her memory. Sunjae really wanted to get her memory back. Tae-suk didn't want it because when she recalled everything, she would have a grudge against him. He was the one who partly caused the death of her mother. At the same time, Chunman was seeing Hyungmin. He asked Hyungmin for money after what he had done for the serial killer. "Gimme money or I will shoot you. If I catch you, I'll get a promotion." Jang Hyungmin wasn't scared at all. He asked Chunman to continue helping him, because he was already disciplined. He promised to give him a key every time he helped. It was a key to the safe. Chunman immediately agreed. He told Chunman that Sunjae was Yeowol and demanded John to find her. With the photo Hyungmin left at the scene, zooming out the photo, they found the number of the frame. The hacker found the place soon after. The whole force came there. As soon as they came, the woman in the photo was already murdered in the same way as Yeowol's mother was. Jang Hyungmin was helping Sunjae take her memory back. Sunjae also came there. She seemed to recall something. Tae-suk was very angry when she came there. She explained that someone shared the location with her. At that point in time, Hyungmin called him. Seeing him in the opposite side, Tae-suk couldn't let him go. Tae-suk picked up an iron bar and whipped Hyungmin. Hyungmin fell off the motorbike. To make way for himself, he stabbed a passerby. Tae-suk couldn't keep chasing him. Jang Hyungmin was way too dangerous. Tae-suk summoned SMS. He was afraid that their family would be in danger. Tae-suk asked them to withdraw. They didn't listen to him. They were determined to catch Hyungmin. The hacker wondered why they didn't meet at the office instead of gathering around at that place. Tae-suk explained that it was John Chunman was helping. His presumption was right. Moon-ki went to see Tae-hee. He thought Tae-hee was Yeowol. 13 years ago, Tae-hee went to the police station as a witness of Kwon Soo-ah's case. However, she didn't tell her name. Thus, Moon-ki thought she was Yeowol. After he left, Sunjae questioned Tae-hee. She wondered who this woman was. Tae-hee got scared and walked away. To catch Jang Hyungmin, the whole police force searched for him. They came to the harbor, because they thought he would leave the country by ship. John Chunman told Hyungmin about that. When he looked through the window, the police officers were coming. Hyungmin decided to jump into the sea. When Tae-suk arrived, he had already fled away. Seeing a photo of his sister there, he knew Tae-hee was the next target. So that he drove to her home in hurry. He took her to his place. He asked her not to get out until Hyungmin was caught. The next day, John had to face the disciplinary committee. They punished him For shooting Song Man-soo, Chunman explained that Woo Jin was holding a gun so that he aimed at Woo Jin. However, Man-soo covered his son. The committee asked Tae-suk, who was also there. Tae-suk claimed that Chunman told the truth, which surprised Chunman. What was Tae-suk's purpose? At that time, Sunjae returned to her adopted parents. She looked at her old photos with a hope of recalling something. Someone suddenly caught her. It was Hyung-min. She electric shocked him. He became her bait instead. Sunjae asked what he wanted from her. Why did he took people's lives and made her see their bodies? She stabbed his thigh when he refused to say. Finally, he told her what he wanted. He would destroy her when she remembered everything. Sunjae was the weakness of Tae-suk. He had chased after Hyung-min for 13 years because he failed to protect her. If he failed to protect her, he would feel like hell. That was what he wanted. He was so sick. She told Tae-suk what happened and asked him to come alone. On the way there, Tae-suk noticed the SMS force. Sunjae wondered why he took her mother's life though she wasn't the witness. He didn't want to say. When she heard him again, he gotta say. It was because her mother tried to stop him from eliminating Yeo-wol. Hyung-min tried his best to break the tie, when his hands were free. He threatened Sunjae. He threw her at the glass door. As soon as Tae-suk came, Hyung-min ran away. He disguised to escape the police's notice. Instead of staying at home as Tae-suk asked, Tae-hee went to her shop. Because he lost trace of Hyung-min, he was very angry because he had asked her to stay at home. Yet, she still went to work. As Chunman revealed the police's plan to Hyung-min, he received a suitcase of cash. Jang Hyung-min gave him a call and let him hear the recording of their talk. When John removed his handcuffs, Hyung-min used it to ask John to return the money. It wasn't easy to get his money. Tae-suk asked his teammates to watch his sister, then he had a talk with her. Tae-hee told him what she saw. Yeo-wol wasn't Jang Hyung-min's accomplice. He forced her to stab Sua. Tae-hee felt regretful for betraying Yeo-wol to save herself. Tae-suk also felt sorry. However, he wouldn't make another choice. Even if he could come back to the past, he would still save his sister by revealing Yeo-wol's identity. After many times losing sight of John Chunman, Dong-yoon found out that John did come to Tae-hee's bakery. He told Moon-ki about that. Checking it out, Moon-ki saw John there. Someone knocked him senseless and stole the gun. Tae-hee smelled something wrong. Jang Hyung-min appeared. Chunman helped him again. When Dong-yoon arrived, Tae-hee was kidnapped. Hyung-min shared the location where he was keeping Tae-hee with Tae-suk and asked him to come alone. Sunjae heard the news and went to see Hyung-min. He tied her up and told her about the past. After introducing them to one another, he let the old friends talk alone. Tae-hee cried when she knew Sunjae was Yeo-wol. Instead of blaming her, Sunjae said they needed to find a way to get out. Sunjae stole Hyung-min's recordings. When he came back, they were no longer there. However, he could still find and catch them again. Tae-suk asked the officers to stay outside until when he gave them a signal. Hyung-min started a game. He kept only one bullet in his gun and asked Tae-suk to choose to save one of the women. Tae-hee wanted him to save Sunjae because she didn't want to repeat her fault. Tae-suk chose to save Tae-hee. His decision let Sunjae down. When Hyung-min was going to shoot Sunjae, Tae-hee pushed him away. Taking the chance, Tae-suk beat Hyung-min up. He released his upsurge of anger. Tae-hee tried to stop him. Once again, Sunjae realized they were brother and sister. She finally recalled everything. Taking the chance, Hyung-min stabbed Tae-suk. However, Tae-hee didn't dare to shoot him. Sunjae pulled the trigger. Hyung-min got a shot in his head. Tae-suk was severely injured. Fortunately, he was still alive. Because Moon-ki lost his gun to Hyung-min, he was punished by the disciplinary committee. Moon-ki told them that Jang Hyung-min knocked him senseless. He also told them about the one who came to the bakery. That was John Chunman. When being asked, Chunman made many excuses. However, he was still degraded. Tae-suk wasn't charged with Hyung-min's death because he was just defending himself. It was a few days later, when a married couple was sitting in their car. A young guy appeared and spat at their car. The husband got out of his car and questioned the guy. Two more jerks appeared. They beat the husband up and took his wife away. A few seconds later, they turned back with injuries. A man in black appeared and gave the jerks a lesson for life. One of them ran away, even though the wife was saved. Her husband was severely wounded. A man in black slapped the jerk around. One of the jerks lost his life, another disappeared, and the other was kidnapped. Those three had many previous convictions. They were criminals who sexually assaulted young girls. Two of them were freed from jail a while ago. They repeated an offense. They deserved the death though. people hailed the man in black as a hero. The police did not think so, they considered him a criminal. Guk-soo was kept in a desert house, his full name was Jang Guk-soo, the hero was going live. He admitted his guilt, including harming a middle school student and selling adult videos for money. Guk-soo had a sick mind. Then the hero let everyone choose either to forgive or end Guk-soo's life. More people chose to forgive him. The Punisher even asked Tae-suk to be in charge of this case. If Tae-suk agreed, the Punisher would keep Guk-soo alive for the next 24 hours. Tae-suk hadn't fully recovered yet, however, he still agreed to be in charge. First, he went to see the wife who was attacked by the Gang of Three. Tae-suk wanted to know how the Punisher looked, as the wife couldn't forgive those who put her husband in a coma. She wouldn't tell Tae-suk even if she saw his face. She was willing to be caught if it was a guilt. During the live stream, the Punished said he wouldn't forgive them if the victims didn't want to forgive. Tae-suk believed that the Punisher would spare Guk-soo if the victim forgave, though he knew it sounded ridiculous. He met the victim again. He hoped she would tell the Punisher that she wanted to spare Guk-soo. Tae-suk was actually trying to find a way to help the Punisher. He must have had a reason to use violence instead of the law. Once they could convince the Punisher, Tae-suk could put Guk-soo in jail forever. The victim needed time to think about it. After days of searching, the police caught the one who escaped. To change the Punisher's mind, the police held a press conference and let the victim spoke. She had something to tell the Punisher, who was also watching. Instead of asking the Punisher to spare Guk-soo, she wanted him to take the criminal's life, because her husband just lost his life. Tae-suk was stunned. 75% of people voted to take Guk-soo's life. When the result came, the Punisher hung Guk-soo up. The police soon found the crime scene. The Punisher had to run away. Dong-yoon tried to save Guk-soo from the death. The reporters also went there. They didn't know why the police saved such a scumbag. As for police, they had to save people's lives. Tae-suk was still trying to catch the Punisher. The Punisher threw a stone at an officer who was in his way. The chase continued. When the Punisher jumped over the opposite building, he told Tae-suk the reason why he had to do it, because he knew. Tae-suk was curious about it. Guk-soo was released from jail too soon. He returned to crime soon after that. He should have been imprisoned for his whole life. Tae-suk didn't know what to say. He let the Punisher leave. Dong-yoon stopped Tae-suk from jumping over the opposite building. Because he wasn't healed yet, it was dangerous for him. The other police was hospitalized. Even though he underwent surgery, his life was still in danger. However, Guk-soo was alive and safe. With his intelligence, Tae-suk could tell that Guk-soo wasn't the real target. The hero's target goal, the Punisher's target, was someone else. Tae-suk realized it was the day another criminal was freed from jail. It was on the January 25th, they found the criminal who sexually assaulted and took the life of the Punisher's wife. Yet, he was sentenced to only 8 years in prison. His sentence was mitigated thanks to the negotiation with the victim. To be more specific, he forced the victim to help him get a commuted sentence. As soon as he was released, he took her life. The Punisher couldn't save his wife's life because he was going on a business trip. Having a feud with the criminals like him, he became a Punisher who chastised those criminals. What a pity, the Punished accidentally caused the death of an officer. Despite his sufferings, Tae-suk had to catch the Punisher for justice. Tae-suk made a plan to make the Punisher show himself. To carry out his plan, they had to release the one who took his wife's life. When the Punisher heard about the death of the officer, he felt really regretful for ending the life of an innocent man. After that, he decided to go live. He told everyone about what he had been through, so he asked them if he could take the life of his enemy. In order to trap the Punisher, the police released his enemy. The Punisher's story provoked people. They staged a sit-in and asked to fire the chief of police. The criminal was escorted by Dong-yoon and Tae-suk. As expected, the Punisher showed himself. However, Tae-suk disguised as the criminal. And the criminal ran away in a police uniform. Soon after that, he was caught by the Punisher. The Punisher dragged him to the rooftop and threatened to throw him out of the building. Tae-suk told the Punisher about the vote result. Most people wanted to spare the criminal. However, the Punisher was blind by hate. The Punished struck the criminal dead. Even though he took a revenge, his wife couldn't get back to him. Thus, he decided to commit a suicide. Tae-suk saved him and put handcuffs on him. After what she had been through and thanks to Jang Hyung-min, Sun-jae remembered everything in her past. She wondered if she should forgive Tae-suk, but first, she requested him to find the one who murdered her adopted parents. Sun-jae knew he was suspicious of her. He didn't dig into the case because he felt sorry for what he had done to her, thus, she asked him to help her find the culprit. When he returned home, he saw a gift from someone. It was a bloody hammer, also a murder weapon in the case of Sunjay's adopted parents. Was Sunjay the culprit? He persuaded her to tune herself in before things got worse, yet, she still wanted him to find the truth whether she was the culprit or not. Elsewhere, John Chunman was seeing a congressman, who was a former chief of police. He promised to help Chunman restore his previous post. One in, one out, he gave John a mission. The director of the hospital was the congressman's business partner. Recently, there was a mother who stood in front of his hospital as a protester. There was a reason why she protested against the director of the hospital. As she kept standing there, the reputation of the director of hospital would be ruined. He paid John to help him handle the woman. John Chunman met up with her. He used the law to stop her. However, she wasn't easy to deal with. She knew the law and what she was doing didn't break the law. And she only stopped once she could talk to Tae-suk. A young woman was going home at night. She realized someone was following her. She ran back home and closed the door. Someone was under the bed while she was sleeping. He stole a coat and murdered her. When Tae-suk went to the crime scene, the victim was Ji-suk, who lived alone. Thanks to the clue at the scene, they realized it was the same as the 1998 serial murder. The victim was also a banker. However, the tape was the only difference. In the year 1998, there were 3 bankers who were murdered. A banker's co-worker appeared at the scene so that the culprit spared her and ran away. The one who was spared back then was also the victim of this case. The culprit was the same person, according to the records. There were 5 suspects, but there were no evidences to accuse them. The police in charge of the 1998 serial murder retired 18 years ago. John Chunman was also related to the case. Tae-suk went to see him. He told Tae-suk that the police in charge was gone. Tae-suk couldn't find a clue. When Dong-yoon and Ka-young went to see the 5 suspects, they got a scold by them. At that time, John Chunman had worked so hard. He kept bothering the suspects so that they felt bitter about it. One of them lost their job and another lost his wife. Most of them had an alibi at the night of murder, except for a man named Lee Chang-hyo. He was the only suspect. The whole force came to see him. The suspect 18 years ago, when the detectives asked what he did that night, he said he did many things at home. He seemed very excited talking about the 1998 case. He even admitted to take 3 lives. They thought he was lying until he showed them 3 jackets of the victims. The detectives were dumbfounded. During the interrogation, he expressed his excitement. However, they had no evidences to catch him. Tae-suk asked why he tried to end Ji-suk's life again. When he heard about her death, he said it wasn't him. Because he was lame, Tae-suk's teammates didn't believe that he was the culprit. To verify his testimony, they asked his neighbors if they knew what he did at that night. They found the evidences that he had a speech in front of people. Who was the culprit? The old man said he couldn't do away with Ji-suk because she was with her friend. That meant there was another witness aside from her co-worker. To make a progress, they summoned the co-worker, who saved Ji-suk from the culprit in 1998. He was Kim Dong-jin. Tae-suk asked if there was someone else at the scene. However, Dong-jin claimed that he only saw the culprit and Ji-suk. No more clues from him. The force had to find out whether the old man was telling the truth. As Chunman really cared about the case, Tae-suk let him interrogated the old man. He agreed on a condition that Tae-suk would meet up with the protester who really wanted to see him. Or else she would keep staging a sit-in. Tae-suk had no choice but to agree to meet her. Her son lost his life due to the medical accident at Hangul Hospital. That was why she protested against the hospital. She wanted to find the truth about her son's death, and she wanted Tae-suk help her. He promised to help after solving a case. John Chunman required the old man not to lie, because there was only Dong-jin and Ji-suk at the scene in 1998. John failed to make him tell the truth. The old man even mocked at John. Checking on the CCTV, it was obvious that he had an alibi. The culprit must be someone else. The old man said he knew who was the culprit and there was another witness. Sunjay went to see Lee Chang-hyo. He asked why he returned after 20 years. Lee Chang-hyo claimed that he didn't murder Ji-suk. When Tae-suk asked if Chang-hyo wanted to see the photos of the crime scene, Chang-hyo claimed that he could tell who the culprit was after watching those. However, he couldn't tell who the culprit was, as the method of murder was the same as the 1998 case. Tae-suk believed that the culprit saw the photos of the first crime scenes and set up the same one. Only the police could see those. Thus, Tae-suk thought John Chunman showed someone those photos. John remembered that he let Dong Jin see those. Also the witness in the 1998 case. To find the second witness, Ka-young went to see the victim's co-worker. Ka-young learned that the victim had a close friend named Sarang, who was working at a nursery home. She must have been the witness, and the suspect was Kim Dong-jin. Tae-suk drove straight to the nursery home. When Sarang was getting off work, Kim Dong-jin attacked her. He wanted to get rid of the witness. Tae-suk came in time to save her life. Kim Dong-jin ran for his life. When he tried to fight back, Tae-suk kicked him off the stairs. Kim Dong-jin was under arrest. They wanted to know why he murdered the victim. Kim Dong-jin really loved Ji-suk, however, she didn't care about him. As he stalked her, she gave him a scold. He felt underappreciated. It was him who saved her in 1998, however. She married another man and disrespected him. Having a down on her, Dong-jin decided to end her life. He copied the method of murder to shift the blame. Watching the news, Chang Hyo said he was so stupid, because Chang Hyo left no trace. To prove Chang Hyo's crime, they put the victim's jacket in his home. With the evidence, the real culprit was finally caught after 20 years, after Tae-suk arrested Lee Chang-hyo. Sun-jae challenged him to find the truth about her adopted parents' death. A few days ago, someone sent him a gift. It was a hammer, also a murder weapon. He wanted to know who sent it to him. Sun-jae's adopted father ran a company of sinks. They asked the employees for more clue. Her adopted parents were very ambitious. All of them described Sun-jae as a cold woman. It was uneasy to approach her. There was a man who took care of her. It was Director Jo, the right-hand man of Sun-jae's adopted parents. Director Jo came to see Tae-suk and confessed his guilt. He said he took the lives of Sun-jae's adopted parents. This stunned Tae-suk. Director Jo claimed that he sent the hammer to Tae-suk. It took him a while to confess it. That was why he sent the gift box with a hope that Tae-suk would find and arrest him. The police couldn't get it. They had checked on the camera. It was Sun-jae who bought the hammer. Was Sun-jae his accomplice? Director Jo told him why he took their lives. Share your reasons for giving up. Sun-jae's adopted parents ate out the substance and let Jo take the office. A while later, Jo fell sick. So he wanted to retire, but they didn't agree. Moreover, they even made him pay before his death. That was why he took their lives. Speaking of the protester, her son died of a medical accident. However, the director said he died of a heart disease. She didn't buy into him, so that she required an autopsy. The director rejected. He must have kept something. Thus, she decided to see him in person. Suddenly, she screamed out loud. She saw his body. Tae-suk was in charge of this case. His teammates continued with Sun-jae's case. Because there were many questions about it. How could a culprit tune himself in like that? His team collected Jo's belongings. They asked the neighbors if Jo came to see the victims. Most of them weren't there. Jo said he broke into through the back door. There were bottles of water at the back door. Maybe the water delivery man saw something. However, he delivered the water at another time frame. Tae-suk was digging into the death of the director of the hospital. The suspect was the protester. She talked to him for 15 minutes. There must have been a reason if she was the culprit. She said she would tell him the truth if he made it clear about her son's death. She was released as there was no evidences to convict her. Tae-suk decided to start with her son's death. Her son was Ji-hoon, a student at Junjin High School. When he was playing basketball with his friends, he suddenly swooned. He was taken to Hangul Hospital. He lost his life there. His mother believed he died of a medical accident. That was why she protested against the hospital. The detective heard his friends call. They called 911, but they seemed not want to save him. There was something fishy. They decided to see the victim's friends. However, they couldn't see the students without their parents' approval. John Chunman knew Tae-suk was in charge of this case. He was trying to stop after taking bribes of the director of the hospital. The congressman promised to help Hai restore his previous position. He lost the chance because the director lost his life. If it was exposed, the congressman wouldn't spare him. It was a big problem for him. Tae-suk went to see the students' parents. All of them didn't agree to let him talk to their children. They believed that Ji-hoon died of a heart disease. There was no reason to continue. According to the records, Ji-hoon had good health. Tae-suk had many questions because Ji-hoon didn't have a heart disease. John Chunman also wanted to find the truth about Ji-hoon's death. He went to see those who called 911 and took Ji-hoon to the hospital. John bought them a meal. After a talk, he realized that they bullied Ji-hoon. One of them was son of the congressman and another was son of the director of hospital. John had to help them. Tae-suk found a way to see the school doctor. He learned that Ji-hoon often came to the medical room. Tae-suk exposed her lie when she tried to cover it up. Finally, she had to tell him that the trio did bully Ji-hoon. The trio based on their father's power, so they set everyone at defiance. The fact was that Ji-hoon died of school violence, therefore, the director of the hospital faked the cause of his death. Tae-suk went to see a doctor who was paid to keep a secret and cover up for the guilt of the director of the hospital, as Tae-suk threatened to put him in jail. He admitted that Ji-hoon left the world on the way to the hospital after being hit by the trio. The director of the hospital carried out a cardiopulmonary resuscitation to fake his death. The doctor carried out the CPR for 30 minutes. The director prolonged it to cover the traces of violence. Ji-hoon didn't black out during a basketball match because the gymnasium was under repair at that time. The parents were telling a lie to protect their children. The police heard a recording in Ji-hoon's phone. The trio cursed at Ji-hoon when they beat him up. However, the recording wasn't enough to accuse them. Chun-man knew the truth. He was afraid that if the congressman's son was caught. In truth, he was afraid if the congressman's son encountered any misfortune aside from him. The chief of police also took the bribes. To save themselves, they had to deal with him as soon as possible, alongside with Ji-hoon's case. When Ka-young collected Joe's belongings, the hacker analyzed his Wi-Fi modem. Director Joe was home when Sunjae's adopted parents were murdered. He wasn't the culprit, thus, Tae-suk was still suspicious of Sunjae. Sunjae went to see him. She gave him the recording to prove that Chun-man removed handcuffs on Hyung-min. She stole it from the criminal when he kidnapped her. With this clue, John would be put in jail. In return for what Tae-suk wanted, Sunjae asked him to let her see Director Joe. Joe knelt down and said sorry for her. He confessed his guilt. And he promised to repay what was happening. Finally, Moon-ki found the water deliveryman. He asked the deliveryman if he saw Director Joe there on the day the victims were murdered. The deliveryman saw a young girl. It was so sure that Sunjae was the culprit. Tae-suk wanted to know why Joe took the blame by making a false statement. Nothing was accidental. Director Joe told him the truth about Sunjae's childhood. Sunjae was hit by a car after she escaped from Jang Hyung-min. There were her adopted parents and Joe sitting in the car, thinking that she lost her life. They promised to pay Joe a lot of money if Joe helped them destroy her body. Joe refused at first, but when they mentioned his wife's hospital fee, he decided to help them, yet, his conscience said no. In the end, he took her to a doctor's home. Due to the injuries, she had to undergo an orthopedic surgery. After all, he could get the money and save Sunjae at the same time. After his boss knew what he had done, he went to the orphanage and adopted Sunjae. Because they were afraid that the truth would be revealed, Director Joe thought they would take good care of her to redeem their fault. They didn't want Sunjae to get her memory back, so they didn't let her go out. When she wanted to go out, they slapped and locked her in a warehouse. However, they maltreated her even more when she tried to win them over. Finally, they sent her to study abroad. When Director Joe knew he would die of disease soon, he wanted to quit his job. Also, he went to see Sunjae with a sense of guilt and told her everything. That was the cause of her adopted parents' death. Director Joe did what she asked to atone for his mistake. Tae-suk felt so sorry for Sunjae. He knew what she had been through. Because of what he did, she experienced such a hard life. To stop Tae-suk from finding the truth about Ji-hoon's death, he denounced Tae-suk to a prosecutor for faking the evidences. The prosecutor went to see Dong-yoon and gave him a bug. It wasn't good for Tae-suk. Tae-suk soon realized it. To repay them, he called his teammate, lying that he had talked to the trio and made them confess. Eavesdropping it, John called the congressman. The parents doubted each other. They were finding who revealed it to the police. Tae-suk came and let them hear a recording. An evidence of their children's school violence. The parents got panicked and blamed each other. They even exposed one another that they had bribed the chief of police. Their children also confessed. The police was already there, as all of them just confessed it. The police arrested them. The police are here, so the evidence for the crime is there. The prosecutor was happy when finding the truth about the congressman. The chief of police was under arrest for taking bribes. The truth of Ji-hoon's death was on the news. His mother successfully found justice for her late son. She revealed the truth about the death of the director of hospital. Back then, she showed him the evidences of his crime. Without scare, he challenged her and even insulted her son. Couldn't stand it anymore. She decided to end his life, before going to jail. She thanked Tae-suk for helping her find the truth about her son's death. Tae-suk went to see John and showed him the recording which proved that John released a serial killer. He deserved to be in jail for good. If John didn't release Hyung-min, Tae-suk's wife wouldn't have lost her life. Getting a few blows, John apologized to Tae-suk. Finally, he was arrested. No matter how hard John claimed his innocence, he was still put in jail, though Tae-suk knew Sunjae murdered her adopted parents. He didn't arrest her due to his sense of guilt. Sunjae would forgive him if he let her go. He knew for sure that she wouldn't forgive him. She pushed him off the bridge. Tae-suk hung on the rail. He couldn't forgive himself when he met her again. It was his fault who turned her life into hell, therefore, he cared for her a lot. He hoped she would forgive him later, yet, he still thought she wouldn't forgive him. So he let go of his hands. However, Sunjae also jumped into water, after his contribution to solve the cases. The hacker was accepted to be a police officer. Dong-yoon and Ka-young dated each other. Tae-suk was still alive and he just held the office as a chief of police. Looking so cool at work, the SMS force was busy as usual to catch the criminals and bring peace to their country. Chunman was put in jail for what he had done. However, his accomplice was safe. He even got a promotion. The germ of evil still existed. Chunman would be released soon thanks to his accomplice. From afar, Sunjae observed Tae-suk in a car. Did he help her escape punishment? Or was he finding a clue to prove her crime? Would Sunjae help him solve other cases, or would they become enemies? The answer will be included in Season 2. The end. Thanks for watching, goodbye and see you next time.